Hey friends, welcome back to the channel with more Westworld. This is Season 1, Episode 3, and last time was a heck of an episode. We had Maeve waking up while she was being operated on. That was a heck of a thing. Really looking forward to seeing what Ford's original storyline is going to be like and how it's going to be implemented, especially with all these androids. Supposedly, it looks like they're going to gain sentience. Some seemingly have already done that, but yeah, excited to continue. If you guys want to watch the full reaction or you want to catch episodes a week early, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, let's get started.
I brought you a gift. I used to read this story to my son at night.
Dear, how queer everything is today. And yesterday things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've been changed in the night. And it's like the other books we've read.
How so?
It's about change. Your son. Where is he now?
Nowhere that you would understand, Dolores. Why did you ask me about my son?
We've been talking for some duration and I haven't asked you a personal question. Personal questions are an ingratiating scheme.
Scheme?
See?
Is that the gun? Okay, so this is definitely the second day since he came, and things haven't reset yet because she still remembers him. I'm glad his friend's not around. He gets to explore a little on his own.
Don't no man shoot, or I'll send her to auction.
Getting a taste of this world. What if he's a horrible shot and misses? What? That's not supposed to happen.
Fresh water. Are you okay?
Oh, there he is.
You popped your cherry.
I thought that was going to be the line.
You've been preaching nonstop about all the narratives in the park, but all you've done since we've arrived is fuck and drinks. I want a little adventure.
He's getting into this.
Look at this.
Any for you? Who said that? Who's saying that? Don't you talk nervous.
He's talking to someone.
Sons of bitches.
He carries on practically an entire conversation.
I need Arnold.
Who's Arnold? He kills 6 hosts. He lets the other 3 go. All 6 of these hosts were part of storylines over the years in which they killed Walter.
Stray host.
Do a little more digging. Get a friend here back upstairs.
I feel like he's throwing her off the case. Making her do this, go after the stray instead of focusing on what she was focusing on.
The only thing stopping the host from hacking us to pieces is one line of your code. No offense, but I sleep with this.
I bet you do.
Drop that can. As if on cue. It is on cue.
No, if I could stay right here with you, I would.
What if I don't want to stay here?
Well, someday I'll take you.
Someday.
Someday sounds a lot like the thing people say when they actually mean never. Let's go now.
Wow.
Tell me, is that all you aspire to, Teddy?
There's a girl, Dolores. Better than I deserve.
Your job is not to protect Dolores, it's to keep her here, to ensure that the guests find her if they want to best the stalwart gunslinger.
I got some reckoning to do before I can be with her.
Ah, yes, your mysterious backstory. Do you know why it is a mystery, Teddy? Because we never actually bothered to give you one, just a formless guilt you will never atone for. Would you like that, Teddy? A small part of my new narrative. It starts in a time of war. A world in flames. With a villain called Wyatt. Do you remember now, Teddy?
You look upon the face of true evil, you ain't liable to forget. Wyatt was a sergeant, went missing while out on some maneuvers, and came back a few weeks later with some pretty strange ideas.
Like in this new narrative.
I'm sorry. I have to get home. My father will be expecting me.
It won't be long.
The lady doesn't appear interested.
Told you I wanted something easy.
Teaching her to shoot? Will this knowledge stay with her even after she gets rebooted?
I can't.
It's not in her programming.
Man in question gunned down an entire settlement out near Flat Rock. Men, women, and children. I think this may be the man you've been looking for quite some time.
Who is he, Teddy?
You'd be better asking what than who, ma'am.
He's the
Why,
devil.
the pestilence. Word is,
Promise me you'll come back.
I promise.
In this life or the next.
Go chop us.
So, after our stray ran away from camp, looks like these guys got caught in a loop.
Uh-oh, another aberration.
This is it.
sounds like you learned something about him while you were tracking him down.
I wasn't tracking him down.
You were working for him?
I wasn't always a bounty hunter.
Dang. You want to get closer? Ah!
Keep staring. Maybe it'll tell you your horoscope.
Come again?
Markings on its shell. Look like stars.
What are you, Gala-fucking-Leo?
Maybe it's in my backstory.
Why is this host covered?
I just...
Perhaps you didn't want him to feel cold. Doesn't get cold. Doesn't feel ashamed. Doesn't feel a solitary thing that we haven't told it to.
Well, that's creepy.
What if we misdiagnosed the original problem? Treated the symptom rather than the disease? Then the disease is still out there. They were talking to the same imaginary person. Someone named Arnold?
Myself, a team of engineers, and my partner.
Arnold.
You had a partner?
Yeah. He wasn't interested in the appearance of intellect, of wit. He wanted the real thing. He wanted to create consciousness.
If I may ask, what happened to him?
Well, he died. Here in the park. He saw something in them.
What if he implanted himself into one of these
He
hosts?
saw something that wasn't there.
There's some mornings when I first wake up. For a split second, I forget where I am. Best, worst sleep I ever had.
Oh, these dogs.
This pain. It's all I have left of him.
That is so depressing. I have a bad feeling.
Stop! Over here!
We're gonna get a jump scare, aren't we? Oh!
Take this and go. Now, go! I'll hold him off as long as I can.
I think you're out.
We found the stray up here. And I don't
Elsie.
think he got here by accident.
Finally got her
As if he
name.
got an idea in his head, one that we never programmed.
I need to decide what to do with you. I think I made a mistake. I was just fascinated. Lose all scripted responses, improvisation only.
I'm trying, but I still don't understand. I think when I discover who I am, I'll be free.
What prompted that response?
I don't know.
I don't know. His fascination is...
Evolution.
And that's what you're doing with
Change
her.
me back.
No, Dolores.
Father wouldn't let him roam this close.
What happens when Teddy's not around? Oh.
Only after some.
She wasn't given clearance.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Why don't we reacquaint ourselves, Dolores?
Kill him.
The voice.
Hey! Get back here! Get back here!
What? What? She was shot, wasn't she?
Can you put him in sleep mode for me, please?
Oh! Oh, jeez. What? Yeah, this is too screwy. This is super fascinating. I don't know where they're gonna go with this. It's so amazing. Alright, so I feel like we're peeling back the layers to this story, and it's getting a lot more interesting. The conversations between Bernie and Dolores were fascinating. I was wondering why they had to be private and to make sure no one else could have access to those conversations. Though I don't know that it's the case that Dolores can't lie or somehow trick Bernie in some way. But yeah, I loved how she referred to asking about Bernie's son. Personal questions are an ingratiating scheme. The word scheme is so devious. Like, is there a reason she would want to cozy up to him specifically? Is she manipulating him? Also, switching between just simple questioning and analysis is really interesting to watch as well. But yeah, once she gets put back into Westworld, she has flashback to earlier days of the time Ed Harris took her into the barn, and seems like he was there to scalp her and not sexually assault her, or both, honestly. And that memory makes her want to learn how to shoot a gun. That memory and also the one of the shootout in town. But yeah, Teddy tries to teach her, but she can't pull the trigger because it's against her programming. Some hands weren't meant to pull a trigger. How true is that? Meanwhile, Will is still getting settled, it costs $40,000 a day to come in, which I'm not sure what year this is. Definitely in the future, given the technology. So adjusting for inflation, it could be something very different. Still a lot of money, assuming it's not like hundreds of years in the future. Assuming like a 3% inflation rate, it would take roughly 24 years to double the cost. So $40,000 now in 2020 would be approximately $80,000 in 2044. But yeah, just food for thought. I'm not sure how often Westworld resets, but we got a confirmation that it's at least 2 days between resetting, because Clementine greets Will after seeing him the night before and remembers him clearly. But yeah, Will gets to do his own thing this time while his friend continues to have sex and kill people at his leisure. Saves Clementine and gets shot in the process, but it's the first time we see that bullets actually do have an effect on guests. Like, it even sent him flying back quite a bit. So maybe Ed Harris is wearing some type of armor, because that looks like it still hurt Will quite a bit. And meanwhile, Ed Harris is just like standing there and not even like flinching, which is really weird. So now the guests that we know the most about are Ed Harris, Will, and his friend. I'm curious if they will wind up meeting up at some point, and how Will respond to Ed Harris torturing these poor people, or these androids rather. We do get confirmation that Will is marrying his friend's sister, though. He mentions that Will will want some memories in the spank bank after he's been married to his sister for a year. Eek, man. Do not like this guy at all. But yeah, Will just wants to go adventuring, just wants to... This is who he truly is. Like I said during the reaction, I'm glad he gets to be himself. Gets to find out what he's doing, yeah. And we start to see the beginnings of Ford's new storyline. I'm wondering if Wyatt is central to the story, or if he's just a piece of it. It does seem to involve Teddy pretty heavily, though I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know how much, if that's a side story or if it's like one of the main things. We also learn about Arnold, though, who co-created the park and actually wanted to make sentient life. And I wondered after the first episode if they're heading down this sentience route, but yeah, it definitely seems like they were doing that before, and it definitely feels like it's leading to it happening now. These androids are talking to Arnold. And Walter was one of them, the one with the milk coming out of his stomach. And he also kills 6 hosts who killed him previously in other storylines. So yeah, there's a lot of different tiny little things that are really fascinating. Arnold had this theory for creating consciousness as a pyramid, memory at the bottom, then improvisation, self-interest, and then couldn't figure out what was at the top. It could be several layers, honestly, but he thought it could be something about the bicameral mind. Never even heard of that word. But funnily enough, after seeing this episode, I saw it somewhere else as well, in like it was an article of some kind that was completely unrelated. I think it was like a medical journal or something. But they wanted to put programming kind of like a inner monologue for hosts. They wanted their programming to be like an inner monologue, and hopefully their own voices would take over eventually. That seems like a very interesting thought. We'll see if that... It feels like it's possibly working already. But yeah, Ford mentions they abandoned the approach because they don't want hosts to be conscious. But the only proof of that is his word. And Arnold could have succeeded and just not told anyone. And Ford said he died in Westworld, and that he saw something in the host that wasn't there, and that his death was an accident. But he also said he knew Arnold as a very, very careful man. So this whole thing reeks. Like, Ford warns Bernie not to make Arnold's mistake, thinking the hosts are real. And he thought that Bernie might think the hosts are real because his son's death still weighs heavily on him. So I think, based on what happens later, that he doesn't want Bernie to see the hosts as his own children. But that kind of happens later, right? Like, the interaction Bernie had with Gina Torres, his ex, it seems like it's his ex because he's with Teresa now. The mother of his... Gina Torres is the mother of his dead son. That was depressing as heck. There are days he wakes up and he doesn't remember yet where or when he is, and he thinks he's going to turn around and see his son between him and his wife. Oh, that is so sad. And the line about his son doing kung fu in his sleep, it was the best, worst sleep I ever had. That line is magnificent and so painful. And he also talks about the pain is all he has left of his son. But then later in the episode, he goes to Dolores, and we learn that he's been keeping this conversation secret because he's fascinated at what's everything that's happening with her. And she says that when she discovers who she is, she'll be free, which what? And in an analysis, she says she doesn't know what prompted that response. That is something else. That feels like something, a huge thing. So she's really, really close to sentience, or she's already there and is pretending not to be. That's what it seems like from my point of view. So this is exciting. But yeah, what I was saying about Ford not wanting Bernie to see his hosts as children, he literally talks about Charlie holding onto him when teaching him how to swim, and that convinces him to let Dolores continue on this path instead of setting her to an older version. So he's doing exactly what Ford warned him not to do, which is just really fun to watch. And I don't know if he's aware of that he's doing that. And just like with life model decoys in Marvel, I'm wondering if it's possible to put human consciousness into these androids, or into a database. That'd be a heck of a thing, right? If you guys saw The Winter Soldier, Arnim Zola, that kind of thing. But maybe Arnold is still alive in the code, and maybe at some point he'll be able to put his consciousness into a host at some point, or just build a host of himself as a young man and put his mind into that. But yeah, there feels like there's no stopping this path towards sentience. Everything is going to heck. I mean, unless they just close the park, but they won't do that. No way. And I feel like it would have to be permanent for that not to happen, for it not to spread at some point. And we see Elsie finally found out her name from the phone. Elsie is the one who is seeing this all play out. But she was warning Bernie about it, but don't think I didn't notice Bernie just like send her away to deal with the stray to keep her attention off of all of this. So that's really interesting. And that stray, he wandered away from his group and they all just got stuck in a loop because no one had access. Get it? Access. But yeah, the stray was into carving like wooden figures, and he was carving the constellation Orion into them. But yeah, the carving was part of his backstories, and Elsie was talking about how backstories are used to anchor the hosts. It's what their identity is built around. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing more backstory for our hosts and how they affect their decisions in the future. And every host has a backstory that anchors them currently, but because they have access to old storylines from the Reveries update, they have a lot more anchors that could change their personalities drastically. So I'm very curious what importance these backstories will hold if and when they gain sentience. But yeah, Luke Hemsworth, I don't know the actor's name. I mean, I don't know the character's name. He recognizes Orion and says, maybe it's in my backstory. Ugh. If he winds up being a host, I'm going to freak because that would have been insane foreshadowing. But yeah, that stray waking up after being put to sleep. Was it because of the code that he didn't smash Elsie with that rock? He just wound up smashing himself? That was terrifying, like Rise of the Machines kind of thing. She was legitimately like fearing for her life in that moment. If I was her, I would never work in the field after that incident. But yeah, it was super sad to see Teddy talking to Ford, saying hopefully someday he and Dolores will have the life they have both been dreaming of. And Ford is just like, lol, no, bruh. Sorry, that was... But yeah, Ford uploads the backstory with Wyatt into Teddy, but he says that it's a great story rooted in truth, based on a real story. Don't know if that means based in real life, as in our real life. So very curious what it's based off of. I would look it up if it didn't mean risking getting spoiled. But there's also a new guy who wanted to get with Dolores that Teddy scares off. He's there later when the father gets killed too. And yeah, there are so many different things going on and so many different characters that I can't tell who is going to be important and unimportant. Teddy, along with the sheriff, are taking a couple out for an adventure though. going after Wyatt, promises Dolores he'll be back, which he technically will, but not in this life. It's just... It's also really interesting that he was never given a real backstory, just something vague that he needs to reckon with. So he can't go with Dolores to get away, even though he wants to. So what I'm curious is it in her programming to want to get away? If it isn't, the programmers seemed like they planned for a bunch of different eventualities. If they had Teddy have a reason not to leave with her, even though she wasn't programmed to want to leave. There's so many things to think about in this show. It's ridiculous. But yeah, like I said before, Dolores' father dies again, and this time she's brought into the barn and takes the guy's gun. And the voice, I'm guessing it's Arnold's voice, tells her to kill him, which, I mean, it has to be Arnold, right? Like, weapons privileges need to be doled out selectively, is what we were told earlier in the episode. And if he's in her head, he would have the ability, he as a top-ranking person in Westworld, as the co-creator, he would have the ability to give her permission to kill him, and that's what she winds up doing, right? I don't know who else could be in her head to do that. Or else, at the very least, somebody else who is pretty high up is programming that into her. But yeah, she walks out, and it seems like she got shot, but then she's perfectly fine. So my question is part of gaining sentience knowing that their bodies are not human, and that they can withstand being shot? Because they're programmed to bleed and die when they're shot, but if they rise above their programming, that's a different story, right? They could get shot, know that their lives are not in any real danger, and keep going. So are we seeing a precursor to that because she was shot, but then she doesn't recognize it in her head? Or something, I don't know. But later when she shows up to Will and his friend, she doesn't have any blood on her. I don't know. It's confusing. But yeah, she doesn't understand what's going on. I don't understand what's going on. But I'm excited to see how her story with Will and his friend play into all this. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys want to watch the full reaction or you want to watch episodes a week early, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, friends.